But I went and knocked on the door, and Coach Tony came, and I really want to walk onto the team. I want to earn it. Like, I want to have a tryout. Would it be okay if I tried to earn a spot on the team? 2 days later, I'm dressing out against Alabama. So that's crazy. Yeah.
What's up, you guys, and welcome back to Baselines. My name is Liberty Schultz. The whole goal of this show is to lead you to your ultimate goal of scoring, whether it's getting recruited to your dream school, preventing burnout, or just falling in love with the sport. Just like Baselines in softball, they lead you around the bases and to your end goal of scoring. So today we have a University of Georgia softball player. Her name is Janie Beth Webb. She started as a student manager and eventually started getting game time and walked on to the team. An absolutely incredible story that I think you guys should really hear and that you'll benefit from hearing. She also is scuba certified and just an incredible person. And we've been playing together. We started playing together when we were 17 and we just kind of stayed friends, and I want you guys to hear this awesome story that she has to tell. Let's hear it from the live studio audience and for Janie Beth Webb. How you doing?
Good.
Thanks for coming to my house and to the set of Baselines.
Yeah.
Are you excited to talk softball?
Yeah.
Well, we can just go ahead and jump into some questions, and just so everybody else can get to know you and learn about your story. So, when did you first start playing softball?
Well, I started t-ball when I was 4 years old, but I really started playing softball when I was 5, 6. So It's been 16 years, I think, playing ball. So
That's so. How did you? Okay, so when you were 4 years old, it was like t-ball. Did you ever run the wrong way around the bases?
I don't consciously remember anything like that, but I do remember getting hit off the tee and being mad because they would start off doing front toss, and then if you miss, they'd make you hit off the tee. And I remember getting so mad because I'd have to hit off the tee sometimes because I would just
you'd want to smack it.
I'd whiff.
Yeah.
But that started a fire. So
yeah. So when you were playing t-ball, did you instantly fall in love with it, or did your parents make you go out there, or what was it like?
Well, it's a long time ago. I fell in love with it because it was competitive. But I don't really remember it that far back. It's kind of been a while since then. I don't really remember. So your sister played before you. So did you watch her play and that made you want to get into it, or was it oh, there's this sport called softball, I might go try it? How did you get into it? I definitely had influence from my big sister because growing up I always wanted to be like her. So she motivated me in a lot of ways and she helped me in a lot of ways. So I give her credit for making me who I am as an athlete in softball. And my dad too, because it was how we spent a lot of time together. Because we have this barn at our house and we have a batting cage set up in it. So we would always go down there and he'd throw me front toss. Or at the time when I was a pitcher, he would catch me and, he pushed me really hard in softball. So I wanted to do it to make him proud. And it was fun. So just worth it.
Yeah, so you kind of stuck with it, making him proud, and it was fun.
Yeah.
Have a good time. When you were a kid and you were that little 4-year-old running around, I know you looked up to your sister, but did you have a specific player out of college or anything that you looked up to? Was there anybody else who influenced you?
I remember being 7 and 8 years old, going to a UGA softball game and seeing Alyssa Goldberg, and I remember watching her hit bombs. She was just awesome. So that kind of, I wanted to be like her. So it's also motivating.
Yeah, so you were sitting there watching the game where you're like, man, I want to do this when I get older.
Yeah, specifically Georgia softball too, because I remember I'd get posters after the game and I would go through the autograph line and take them home and put them up on my wall. I had 4 different Georgia softball posters, and whenever I would do arts and crafts at VBS, it would be Georgia softball.
Plus God.
Yeah, plus God. Yeah,
oh God. So that's hilarious. That's cute. So that had a big influence. So when you were young and stuff and watching UGA softball, you always wanted to be a part of that. Did you ever look at different schools, or were you no, I'm going UGA all the way?
Well, when I got to high school, I kind of got a little more realistic about it because I realized that having a scholarship and going to a good school is important, but it's also more important to find the school right for you. So going through the process of looking through Division II, Division III, even schools, I never counted anything out. It was because everybody has a school, and I didn't want to go big D1
if I could have a better time at a D2 school. So like I wanted to give everything credit and try everything out before I pursued something bigger. But
so you kind of left your options open.
Yeah,
and
left
then
my options open.
just ended up where you ended up.
Somehow. Yeah.
That's awesome though. That's cool. Okay, so you're 4 years old, you start playing. What was the process like going from 4 to like, 17, growing up playing softball? I know it's a long time frame to ask about, but like, I know a lot of people have questions about like, how do you get on this travel team? Does the travel team matter? So like, kind of want to talk about like travel softball. So when did you start playing like travel ball?
Well, I was 8 years old and I was picking up with my sister's 10 and under Georgia Impact team.
Woo!
So I was
a big baller.
Yeah, I was teeny-tiny. I didn't play much because I was 8 with 10-year-olds.
That's crazy.
But I do remember like my first at bat and I hit, it was like a dink hit, ground ball. The shortstop probably made an error or it went through her legs or something. I remember being so stoked because I got to first base and I was like this big and everybody else was like this big. And I was like, I just did something. But that started the whole travel ball experience, and I kind of moved on to like smaller travel ball teams, and then got on a Georgia Power team, which was like, it was a good team for our age group. And then I transferred into like Atlanta Premier and Southern Force, and which were good teams, but didn't have the right connections for like big schools, I guess. But they did well. Like we did well in those teams, but finally getting on like East Cobb Bullets, that's where you did the most competitive ball. But playing on a more competitive team doesn't necessarily get you recruited more. It's more like, do you go to camps? Do you talk to coaches? Like, it's all about the relationships you make and the connections you have.
Yeah.
It's
a connections game.
It's a connections
for sure.
game. It is. And you gotta know a guy. But that doesn't mean it's impossible to get to the place you want to be. You just gotta be yourself and work for yourself.
Yeah. Much. Be your own advocate.
Be your own advocate. Yeah, and work hard at softball because you're not gonna get there if you're not working hard at softball too. It's not just a connections game, but it's also like you have to be committed and you have to be determined in what you want and know what you want. Have a conviction of what school or what you want to be. So it's important.
So when you were going through the recruiting process and you were going to like showcases and camps, so this is weird. I remember we both went to this like showcase. It was put on by TPM, right? I remember this, and I remember you had like this certain like demeanor about you at camps. This is weird that I remember this, but there was a certain demeanor about you like at camps that you had where coaches would be like, oh, that's good. Like I like that kid right there. I don't know what it was, but I remember my coach telling me, hold yourself like that kid, and it was you, which is wild. At camps and stuff, like there's a certain way that you hold yourself. So how did you go through camps and showcases holding yourself a certain way to like make yourself stand out more? I know that's a kind of loaded question.
I mean, that's very nice.
Yeah.
I didn't
really realize. A crazy story that happened? I was at that showcase and they were like, try to hold yourself like that because that's confidence. Wow. And I was like, wow.
Okay, I mean, that's very nice.
Yeah.
But, I guess always hustle on and off the field. That's like the main priority for any coach who's interested in a player. Like, they're not just gotta hustle, and hustling and just having a heart when you play. Like when you're on the field, if you're on defense, even if you're in a position that you don't normally play, like you just have to have heart and understand that like even if you make an error, you can still get recruited at your school because coaches know that you're not gonna be perfect for them. They look at how you respond to failure, and if you respond to failure with your head down or throwing your glove or not picking up your teammates, it's the worst.
When people are throwing stuff in the dugout, come on, dude.
Come on. It is just a game. Like, it's supposed to be fun. And like coaches really do look at that. Like I had a teammate on UGA softball. Her name's Laura Bishop. Love her to death. She told me her recruiting story and how Coach Lou went to watch her play, and she had like a home run hit off of her or something like that. Yeah. She struck the next 3 batters out, and she got recruited.
So that's how she responded.
That's just how she responded, and if she does mess up, she smiles and not in a way that's condescending smile, not like a oh haha that's a funny smile, but just like a composure smile, and she's
like I got this.
Like I got this. Yeah. And that's just, it's important to have that mindset when you go and go into it. And it's important to have fun because that's the point.
Right, it's a game.
That's the point.
It's not meant to be, you know, your dad yelling at you in the back, people getting all mad. Like, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a good time. And that really does change people's look on it.
Yeah.
So with showcases and camps and all that being said, when about did you start the recruiting process? Because people are starting it earlier and earlier. Like, you're seeing 8-year-olds like verbal commit, and you're like, what is happening?
Yeah, that's insane. I don't understand being that young and making that decision for your future. Like,
it's crazy.
I remember being in 8th grade and going like, what is like college softball? Like, I don't know what goes into that. I don't
What
know.
is that?
Like, what? Like, it's cool to be on TV, but you know, anyways. But I started recruiting probably in 10th grade, which was kind of late, you know, in comparison to other teams and like other girls. But that was when I really got like focused on it, I guess. It was more like my parents made it my decision for me to get recruited and for me to play college softball. So it took me a minute to kind of realize that is what I wanted to do, like to make that like firm decision. It's a big choice. And being from a small town, you don't have very many connections, you don't have very many people to look up to who have been there. So it's like hard to know what to do. So part of like me being so late on the recruiting process, it pushed me back a little bit, you know, and thankfully
it still worked out.
I definitely do think that if you do want to get recruited, it's important to start early because, you know, like having composure and being able to talk to coaches and go to camps, like, because like even at UGA softball camps in the summer, like, we remember campers from years before, so if they've been coming since they were 9, we're gonna know them.
Like, hey, Jimmy, I don't know, not Jimmy, that's a boy's. So this is kind of like where the story gets really interesting. So far, like it seemed like you've had like this kind of, everybody has like a similar, like, oh, I got recruited this way, I started when I was this age.
Don't exactly know how to do it yet.
Right, yeah. You know, I went to camps, I went to showcases. But when you got to college, you know, probably around your senior year, you decide where you're gonna go. This is where the story gets interesting. So what happened? Your senior year, you decide where you're gonna go to school?
Yeah. So I had a couple offers on the table from smaller schools that I loved, you know, but it was also a financial thing because they were out of state and we couldn't afford it. And so I decided that UGA, which I got accepted to, which is crazy, but I'm being like a 4th generation UGA student. My grandma, granddad, my mom, my aunt, my great grandma, like they all went there.
It's your blood.
I mean, growing up a Georgia fan, and then I decided spring to finally commit to Georgia and like put my education over softball because it's what's important.
Right.
But it was hard because that's 14 years of my life at that point, you know? And I decided, I was like, okay, so I'm going to try to walk onto the team. I don't know if it's going to work because, I mean, it's UGA softball. Like, what?
That's a big deal.
That's awesome. Like, it's a huge deal. And honestly, like, going through it, it was, the whole thing was just awesome. I finished my last softball game July of 2017 and started fall at UGA. And it took me like a month to get the confidence up to go into the offices, like the coaches' offices, but that was crazy. I remember I went up to, like, the stadium is set up and you have the locker room on the home side and there's like a little doorbell and I was like, press the doorbell and I was like shaking, so I was like, gosh,
I couldn't even imagine.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What made you want to work up the courage? Was it just missing softball or was it?
I figured out that if I didn't do it, I would regret it.
Yeah.
I would regret it. I would regret it for the rest of my life because the worst they can say is no. And it was already a no. So might as well. Might as well. And it took a lot. Like, it took a lot of days of thinking like, okay, gonna do it today. And then didn't do it. Then, okay, you gotta do it today. Didn't do it. And then one day I just did it. Yeah. One day I just drove there and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. Yeah. I had a script. Like, I even had a script written out.
Awesome.
But I went and knocked on the door and Coach Tony came and opened it and he's like, hey, you know, and I was like, hey, can I like talk to you? Like, have like a meeting with you? And he was like, sure, like, come on in. And I told him, I was like, yeah, so I played on East Cobb Bullets this past summer and I really want to walk onto the team. I want to earn it. Like, I want to have a tryout, you know, see what I can do. And he was like, well, our roster is full right now, but I can bring you on as a student manager. And I was like, okay, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, you're part of the team.
Part of the team, and I was like, and then I'll still continue to try to get on the team, but it might be a good start, And so I started managing January, right before season started, and I started catching bullpens and started catching up for coach. And
have you ever caught before that?
I had never caught. I had caught maybe twice in 10 and under.
Oh gosh.
Like never.
So you're out there
I was
catching these super fast
especially
pitches.
like 70 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Like
This is what I gotta do.
Let's do it. Doing what I can. Because
Yeah.
honestly, like just being like I wasn't dressed out during practice. Like I was in shorts and a t-shirt wearing catcher's gear. Like all right, like
Yeah.
like it just happy to be there, happy to be touching a ball.
Right.
Like, with
Yeah.
the UGA softball team. I was like, all right, like let's
that's
go.
cool.
Like that's awesome. And then one day I was catching up and they went to the storage room and got like a glove, like an infielder's glove with a G on it, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, and that's
You're like, that's meant for me.
That's like that's mine, And I finally started like catching up more and doing more. And one day I was just like went to coach's office. I remember it's a crazy day. It was right after practice and she was loading stuff into her minivan next to the locker room. And I walked up to her and I was like, hey coach, how are you? And she's like, oh, I'm good, JB, like, and I was like, can I talk to you? And she was like, sure, like you can talk to me about anything. Because I love her. And I looked at her and I was like, so I don't want to like ask too much, but would it be okay if I like tried to earn a spot on the team? Like I can wait till next season, or like
you got guts.
I want to try out. I had a relationship with her though,
at that
and
point.
so it was like it wasn't an easy thing to ask, but it was also like, this is what I'm here for. Like, and I had probably talked about it to everyone around me the entire season. I was like, I want to play so bad. So
that's awesome.
That's so good. Trying to speak it into existence. And she was like, well, I was actually talking to Coach Shawnee about bringing you on the team last week. And then 2 days later, I'm dressing out against Alabama. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, okay, when you got the uniform, like, how did you find out you're dressing out? Like, what was that like?
Well, there was a lot of compliance stuff that I had to sign before, and we didn't tell the team, didn't really tell anybody until like we knew for sure that I was gonna like dress out. And I remember Coach was like, so like, what number do you want? And I was like, I get a number? I don't know. But I remember I had to pick between like 14 and 25, and since I was number 5 in high school, I was like 4 plus 1 is 5. That works.
Yeah.
Just go with 14. Okay. And yeah, so they handed me a jersey and I was like, okay. And I remember I walked into the locker room and I started dressing out and the girls on the team were like, JB, like,
wow.
Whoa. Yeah, so
that's crazy.
That was a feel good day. That's a really good day. And then of course, like we beat Alabama, which was even better.
Yeah. And then did you guys go on to have like a lot of success that season or?
Yeah, we ended up going to the World Series.
Wow. And you had to be a part of that.
I had to be a part of that. That was so cool.
That's amazing.
It's so cool. It's still cool to this day, but that season was awesome.
That's
like,
amazing.
Best softball season of my life. I would confidently say that.
Wow. what a crazy story. That's awesome. And then I just have like a couple questions just about like the mental game of softball and just like kind of stuff like that. So like when you're at UGA or like any times before that, what was like, did you have like any burnout? Did you experience any burnout where you're like, I'm done with this, throwing your bat down, I'm done? Did you ever experience any of that?
Well, I can't personally like pick a specific period of time where I had burnout, but I will say that there are days that like they're not fun. Like, they're not fun anymore. But then you go back out the next day and you have a game and it reminds you like how much you love it while you're there. So like, yeah, it's easy to have burnout when you're waking up for 6 a.m. weights and then going to class and then having the 4-hour practice in the afternoon. Like it's easy to hit that middle block, But
especially when it's. Do you guys play a lot of fall games?
We play like 3 weekends in the fall max.
Is the fall really hard because you're not seeing like it show what you're working on?
Yeah, the fall is a challenge. Like it's a challenge. It's hard because you start out, you have a conditioning test the day you walk in, and it's not easy. And the amount of times that the whole team misses, you have to make up for like later in the fall. And normally October is like the worst month of the fall because it's the longest.
Like, you're there the whole time.
Midterms, and then you have practice every single day of the week, and you have fall ball on the weekend, so you just can't get away from it. But it's you see the end goal, like going to the World Series, standing there like in Oklahoma City. You look back on October and you're like, I would do that 6 times over if this is where I get to be every time. So it's just, when you have a small mindset, you can get burnt out really easily. But when you have like a big game, big scheme,
this is where I could be.
This is where I could be
instead of just in the weight room at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And then like did you experience any injuries that were just like really hard to push through, or anything, like anybody who has an injury that's watching this, anything you would tell them like to push through that, or what did you experience with those, because I know those are hard?
Yeah, I mean, this past fall actually I experienced a pretty significant concussion, and it took me out for pretty much the rest of the fall, and come back 2 days into the spring and get a second one. So there's like a big source of frustration there, and it's like, you know where you want to be, and you know like what you want to do, and it stinks because you can't be with the team and you can't work out because it's dangerous for you too if you have a concussion. Like
anything's dangerous.
And it's just, it's hard. It's hard, but it's also one of those things where it's like, you committed to this, and you worked for this, so you stick with it, and you fight for it, and you heal, and you come back.
Come back stronger than ever.
You come back with like a new appreciation for things. Like, I didn't realize how much I loved getting up at 5:30 in the morning to go work out until I couldn't, and it reminds you that softball does not last forever, and you're gonna graduate one day, and you're not gonna have those moments anymore. And so having those moments taken from me last fall and a little bit this spring, it was hard, but it's important to still be there for your team.
So I know like it can get tiring waking up early in the morning and going to practice, just like the overall grind of softball. So like, what are like the little things within the day? Like, is it eating with your teammates, or is it like hanging out with them, or like what keeps you going in the day to day?
I mean, honestly, the team aspect of weights, we push each other, and we're there for each other, and get to the hotel before a weekend series and have team meetings and team bonding, and just little moments of walking into the locker room and somebody saying, "Hey, I like your shoes today." Like, you're like, yeah, like thanks, just, and even during practice, like hard practices, getting to stand next to your teammate in the dugout or on the field and just like be like, "Yo, I mean, this sucks," but, like we're here, like we're doing it,
right? We're doing it together.
We're doing it. We're here, and it's just, there's always those little moments of like little successes of like, oh, I fielded a ground ball and threw it on the right side of the bag, like, or hey, I got a good hit today in practice. Like, there's always, you can grasp onto the little things that kind of get you through.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of moments. Yeah, just their magnitude. They're awesome. But like walking out onto the field when we had like a home series again, SEC home series.
Oh gosh, that's gonna be the coolest feeling.
It's so cool. Like having our names called out and seeing the hype video and getting the lineup on the line. Like it's a feeling that I know I'll never get to feel again once I step off that field for the last time. And just taking it all in, and
while you have the chance to.
While I have the chance to, because there's a lot of people at those games.
That's insane. Like the first time you stepped out there and you were like, whoa, like what went through your mind? I could not imagine like the first time stepping out on that field.
I honestly think my mind just stopped working. I was just like, okay, like, whoa, what is like, what's going on? I have no idea what's happening right now, but I like it. So, yeah. I remember the first time I got playing time at second base, and coach looked at me. It's like 7th inning. We were up a little bit. I don't remember what the score was, but she was like, "JB, go get your glove." And I was like,
"This JB what?
Me?" And so like I sprinted through the dugout and got my glove and ran out there. And she was like, "So what position do you want?" And I was like, second base. And she's like, "Are you sure? I'll put you at shortstop." And I was like, Melissa DiCarlo is at shortstop. I'll play second base. Like,
what if you said like pitcher or something?
She would have been like, "JB, come on." She would have laughed.
Yeah.
But she was like, it's game time. Let's go. What position do you want? But I went to second, and I remember, like, looking up in the stands and being like, man, I regret looking up into the stands right now. And then, like, looking down and just being in the moment, just being there, just looking at every pitch and going, okay, this one might get hit to me. Let's be ready for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow, what a feeling that's gotta be.
But, like, saying the outs during that inning, I was like,
We got 2 now. So the other day, or not the other day, because we've been in quarantine forever, but towards like the end of my season and towards like the end of like when we were playing and stuff, our coach like sat us down and went around a circle and asked us like, why do you play? Like what do you play for? What is the reason you play? And I kind of want to ask you that. I want to kind of ask that in every single one of these interviews. Like, what is the reason behind you playing? Like, a lot of people will say, like, their family or to glorify God or, you know, they grew up playing with their dad. So, like, what is your reason? Like, why do you play?
Honestly, all of the above.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's like, it's a source of pride to be able to lace up the cleats and step out and make your family proud. And, I mean, the people who are around you who see you work, it's fun for them, too, you know? And just knowing to, you know, have faith in what you're doing and give the glory to God and praise Him in all your successes and know that He gave you the ability to be there, you know, and He, like, I'm personally extremely blessed with the opportunities that He has given me. He has let me pursue, you know.
Right.
So it's
Let
just
you be on the UGA softball field.
yeah, I mean, gave me the competitive drive to, like, speak it into existence. And I remember just before every day waking up to go be a manager, I would pray. I'd be like, you know, maybe today's the day, God. Like, whenever it's my time, like, whenever it's in your plan for me to get on this team and do, you know, glorify you.
Yeah,
you know?
and then it was your time.
It was my time.
So
yeah.
incredible.
Praise the Lord, honestly.
Amen. Yeah, bro. And then my final question: if you could give one piece of advice, I know there's like years put into this. One piece of advice to the girl watching this that wants to get recruited or wants to be at your level.
Have confidence, but stay humble. You know, there's a difference between cockiness and confidence, and there's a difference in being humble and just taking things for granted, you know? So look at every opportunity as a learning experience, whether it's a failure or a success in your eyes, because every failure can lead to success. You just learn from every moment and just stay humble and know what you're doing it for. Just have a purpose, because, you know, it's one life, you know. You only got 4 years in college to play, so you might as well give it all you got. So
that's awesome. That's great. I thank you so much, JB, for coming on this and answering some questions in my house. It's awesome, and thank you so much. Like, we just really appreciate it. I think it's going to be really inspiring to some of these girls that are watching it, because it's freaking amazing that you went from a student manager to getting playing time and, like, looking up to the stands and be able to have that feeling. Like, it's just amazing the journey that you've had, and I think it's going to be really inspiring to people. And, yeah, it's freaking amazing. It's awesome. I love it. So that's it for this episode of Baselines. Remember to subscribe, okay? If you're a softball player, comment down below whatever the heck you guys want to. Come back next week for Olivia Lacey being on here, who's also a softball YouTuber and plays at LaGrange. I don't know why I looked at you like,
yes.
Do you know Olivia
LaGrange.
Lacey?
No, but I'm glad she's at LaGrange. I don't know.
Give me a cheers with our tea. Come back tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Come back next week for Olivia Lacey, who's a softball YouTuber, and she plays at LaGrange College, and she's going to be an awesome interview also, just like JB was. And hit the subscribe button, comment down below, whatever the heck you guys want to. If you guys got any questions or anything, and create your own box. We'll see you guys next time. That was good. Good job, though.